Hello everyone and welcome to the first tutorial for Gameplay Action System, commonly known as GAS. In this tutorial, you will learn how to create a loot box. So when you approach to the box, a message is going to appear. And the message is going to be always facing our screen, like this. And now when we press E, an item will drop. And the box is going to be destroyed. You can make this either to drop item or don't drop anything, like this. So when the item is dropped, it will jump out of the box like this. If you want to learn how to create your own games and how to optimize your blueprints with techniques that are not shown on YouTube, I have a complete course on Udemy. I will leave the link in the description, so check it out. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, now I have this folder _main actors. I'm going to create a new blueprint. So right click, blueprint class, and choose actor. I'm going to name this create. So open it up. Now let's add a component, static mesh. So type static mesh in the component. I'm going to name this create _sm for static mesh. Now I'm going to open the content drawer. I'm going to find this static mesh that I want to use. You can use any static mesh you want. Okay, so I'm gonna drag this static mesh and assign it as a root here. Now let's add a trigger box. So here they're called collision box. I'm gonna name this create interact _trigger. Compile and save. Now with the trigger box selected, in the top right corner, type collision. And for the collision presets, click on custom. Make it here all ignore, just overlap pawn. So only our pawn, that's our player character, can interact with this trigger box. Now let's make it visible in the game. Just type hidden. So I'm gonna uncheck this. Compile and save. I'm going to go in the front view to make sure this trigger box is in the middle. So for optimization purposes, never scale the trigger boxes with this tool here. Always scale them with this box extent, like this. I'm gonna go to the top view. So I'm gonna make it everything like maybe 150, 150. So from the front, I'm gonna make this smaller so the player cannot jump on the box and activate it. So something like this. Now in the perspective, this should be good. Now compile and save. Now let's go to the event graph. We're going to delete this, we don't need them. Now select the trigger box and scroll all the way down. We're going to need the component begin overlap. Select again and end overlap. Now for other actor, usually the other tutorials will tell you how to cast to third-person character. This is very wrong. You can read the note itself, what it says. That this node can be expensive, so never use casting. I have the whole tutorial for this. You can check it out. So what we're going to use instead is going to be tags. So from other actor, type has tag. So actor has tag. So what is overlapping this box? Other actor with a tag of name, for example, player. So who's interacting with this box? Other actor that has a tag of player and nobody else. So from this return value, it's boolean. You can right click and type bench. Connect this condition and the pins. And now right click and we can just type print string. And then we're gonna type, for example, player touched. I'm gonna copy and paste this because we need to use the same thing for the event and overlap. So other actor. This is when you are leaving the box. So this is when you are touching the box, and this is when you are leaving the box. So I'm gonna take this also print string. So player not touching. Now when we go to the level, I'm going to drop the blueprint in the level. Now pay attention, in the top left corner, we should see the message. We don't see the message, so why is that? Because when you go back to the blueprint, you're gonna see we need the actor that has a tag of player. So let's open our third person character. So select this self, this is the whole actor. In the top right corner, you can type tag. And we have actor and tags. So click on this plus button. And here we are going to type player. So now the engine knows that this actor, this whole actor, has a tag of player. And in the create blueprint, when you touch this box, you are checking if any actor has tag of player, which means only our player has. So that's how we are going to communicate these two blueprints. Now let's try it out. Player touched, player not touching. You see, it's working. So if something else overlaps this box, nothing's going to happen. Okay, now let's make this message pop up on the screen. Now let's go back to our create blueprint. We can delete this print string nodes. I'm going to open the content drawer in the widget folder. Right click, user interface, widget blueprint, user widget, and we can type here interact underscore HUD. So double click. Now type on the left side overlay, drag and drop here, and drag atop a text. So with the text selected, make it in the center. And here in the text, we're going to type press E. So compile and save. We can close this up now. Now let's go to the viewport and let's add component. You can type widget. So not widget interaction, but just widget. And we can type interact underscore widget. At the moment, this widget is empty. Now I'm going to go to front view and put it all the way up. And now in the widget class, so click this and select the widget that we have just created. So interact HUD. Now if I go to the game, you see it like this, but we don't want to see like this. We want to touch this box and to appear this message. And let's go back to our crate. So with the widget selected, space, we need to select screen. And now when we enter the game, so anywhere I go, it's going to follow our player. Like this. Now let's make it appear and disappear when you are touching this box. Let's go back to our crate. I'm going to go to perspective. Now by default, it's going to be hidden in game. So widget selected, type hidden. And we are going to hide in game, this hidden in game. Compile and save. Now let's go to the event graph. Now when the player touches this box, now drag this on the graph and type set hidden in game. So I'm gonna select this and Control D to duplicate. So when I touch this box, I want this widget to appear. So this box needs to be unchecked. And when we leave the box, we want to be hidden. So make sure this component is connected with the target. So compile and save. Now let's test it out. Now appearing and disappearing. So when I come here, if I go around it, it's gonna follow us. Okay, now let's make something happen when we press E. Back to the crate. I'm gonna put this a bit closer. So when the player touches this box, we want to activate our player controller. So right click and type get player controller. And from here, enable input. So by default, it's going to be attached to the target, but it needs to be to the player controller like this. Now from player controller, type disable input. Again, from the target, just put it here in the player controller. And now when we touch this box, we want to enable the input. And when we leave the box, we want to disable the input. Now let's make a test here. I'm not gonna connect this just to show you what's gonna happen. Now when the input is enabled, I'm gonna right click and type keyboard. So select any key of the keyboard like this. So with this selected, on the top right corner, click this keyboard icon and press E. This is the easy way how to assign any other button. So if you want, you can make W, you can make Q, any button you want. So I want to be E. Now right click and print string. I'm going to type here player interacting. Now when we touch this box, we are going to enable the input, and then we can use this keyboard input. And when we leave the box, we need to disable the input, but let's just show you what's going to happen if you don't put this like this. So when I press E, nothing is happening, but when I touch this box, I'm enabling the input, and when I press E, player interacting. Now when I leave the box, if I press E, the input is still enabled because we have to disable it every time we are leaving the box. Now let's go to the create blueprint and disable the input. Compile and save, back to the game. Now I press E, nothing happens. Now I'm pressing E, player interacting. And when I leave, now I'm gonna press E again. The input is disabled. Now let's destroy this box and to spawn an item. Let's go back to our crate. I'm going to delete this print string. So we want, when you press E, to destroy the box and something to be dropped. So from here, type emitter at location. So from the location, get actor location. And I'm going to type here box. I have this nice VFX. And from here, destroy actor. And now when we are in the game, when I press E, I'm destroying the box like this. And now I cannot press E anymore because there's no more trigger box and the input is disabled. Now let's make something spawning from the box. Now I'm gonna open the content drawer. Go to content, main, actors. So right click, blueprint class, actor. I'm gonna name this treasure. Now add components and type static mesh. I'm gonna type here treasure underscore SM for static mesh. I'm gonna make this as a root, so compile, and I'm gonna use this asset I have. I have this nice block. So now we have new blueprint created. It's called treasure. Now let's go back to our crate. So before destroy actor, you want to spawn actor from class. And from here we can type treasure. This is our new blueprint, so treasure. And spawn transform is where do you want this to be spawned. So drag up from here pin and type get actor transform. Now I'm gonna connect this. Now let's test it out. It's a bit too big and it's too much in the ground. Now let's fix this. Now let's go back to the crate. So let's disconnect this and right click and split struct pin, and also do the same for here. So we want to spawn this actor at the location of this actor, rotation, but for the scale we want to be smaller. So let's make it, for example, 0.3, 0.3 and 0.3 in all axes. Now let's see how it's gonna be. Okay, it's still in the ground. Now let's fix this as well. Now let's go back to the treasure in this. So in the event graph, we can delete these two. And for event begin play, so drag and drop this treasure static mesh and type add impulse. So add impulse. And we're gonna connect this. And in the z-axis, I'm gonna type here 400. And we have to check this velocity change. So this means when this actor is in the game, it's gonna jump in the z-axis for 400 units. Now let's see. Nothing happens because we have to make simulate physics. So let's go back to the treasure. You see it's telling us there is no physics enabled. Now let's go back to the treasure and select this static mesh. On the right side, you can type simulate. We have to check this simulate physics. And now with the simulate physics, we can add impulse to this actor. Now let's test it out. It's working properly. Now let's make more copies of this, just holding Alt and left click. Let's try it out again. Okay, now let's make it a bit more exciting. So back to the crate. So I'm gonna put this like this. So before destroying the actor, I'm gonna call this as sound. So sound 2D. And then I'm gonna connect this destroy actor. And for the sound, I'm gonna add this simple explosion we have. Now let's test it out. Okay, cool. Now let's go back to the crate. So make it a little bit the side again. So from the class, drag the pin and promote to variable. And in the bottom left corner, you can type actor to spawn. So compile and save. And click this I button so we can expose this variable. Now by default, when you select this variable, we're going to spawn the treasure. But if you want not to spawn anything, click here and go none. So compile and save. And now with this actor selected, on the right side we have this default and actor to spawn none. Now let's see what's going to happen. Okay, nothing is spawning because we have to assign any actor we want to spawn. So this actor to spawn, we have this option because we have exposed the variable with this I. Now let's make it this one to spawn something, for example, the treasure. So treasure, this one is going to be none, and this one also is going to spawn treasure. Now when I play the game, the first one should spawn something, this one is going to spawn nothing, and this one also is going to spawn actor. Now let's see. Treasure now, in the event graph, we want this impulse to have random numbers. Now we can pull this a bit on the side and right click on the impulse and split struct pin. And now we can right click and type random float in range. And now we are having minimum and maximum float. So we want when this actor is jumping when the game starts, we want to be minus 300 minimum and 300 maximum. So that means on the x-axis, when the game starts, we're going to add impulse, which means it's going to move to the x-axis either left or right, and 400 units up. Now let's go to the game. And I'm gonna drop the actor. Now I'm gonna click here to simulate. So I'm gonna hold Alt and press S to start the game again in a simulation mode. I'm gonna stop it here again and start again. You see, every time is different jump. Now let's try again. Now let's make it even more different. So in the treasure, let's connect this also to the Y. Now when you play the game, I'm gonna simulate again. So it goes left, right, and up in all different directions. So it's not all the time the same height up, only 400 units. Every time it's going to be different. Now let's see when we spawn this from the box. I'm gonna play the game now. You see, every time when you are spawning this item, is going to be different direction, left, right, and up. Okay, this is going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.